So we're officially being recorded, so no more dirty jokes or gotta be serious now.
So I guess you want me to facilitate, Brent?
It's all yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So for those of you that this is your first Zoom call, if you scroll all the way to the left, you'll be on the default screen where it will automatically pop up whoever is talking. So your voice is what activates who shows up. If you want to scroll to the next, scroll right a couple of directions, then you've got like a Brady Bunch scenario where you can see, a couple of different people at once. So anyhow, thanks everyone for being on the call and for Brent's team jumping on at the last minute. But what I was hoping to do tonight was we've got a lot of couples on our teams that are not necessarily working the business together. We've got some wives that are doing it and some husbands that sort of help out in the background. And one of the things I've noticed is that any of the top earners in this business, for the most part, are working together as, a couple, and they're building a business in some capacity as a team. And so I was hoping we could sort of leverage Brent and Tracy and Stephanie and Brad, who are doing that and who have built a significant business teams, and learn a little bit more from you guys about how you got started in the business, what your catalyst was, if you don't mind sharing, your story, and then sort of how you've delegated duties, who's doing what, so that Jessica and Jim, who are on my team and are interested in learning about how this might benefit their family, and then so that my husband and I and anyone else that are on this can learn from you guys. So I appreciate you guys for all being on.
Absolutely.
So anybody, if no one has any questions to get started, I'll sort of hand it off to Steph and let you guys kick things off with your story.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions to start off with? All right, great. Okay, well, I'll share our story. I have been in direct sales before, but Brad let me do it all by myself at that time. I started off in Party Light when I was 22, and I did that very successfully for 15 years. However, it was my business. I took care of it. We did not have children at the time, and I just kind of did my thing. I think the most I made in that company was about $75,000. But at the time, that was good. And for that company, that was good. So it was successful, even though that's not what we want now and what we want to achieve. Then I helped form another company, actually a health company, which has really kind of taught me a lot about nutrition and health in the body. And we played a lot of roles. We began the company. We were the leadership team. We were the marketing team. We were the ones to build it. We did everything, but no income because it was brand new. So the money there just never really came in. And I started that when my first child was 6 months old. And so basically the first year and a half, 2 years of that was part of that. Again, Brad did not really support me during that time period. He had gut feelings about that ownership, and he was correct. So at some point we just kind of bailed out on that. And then I continued to have a few more children. And Jim, just so you know, my background is real estate and legal assisting, which I did well in real estate, and I liked that. So I did kind of have to choose between Party Light and real estate. And I actually chose Party Light over real estate, but then I went back into real estate. Just kind of back and forth, you know how that goes. Then I was introduced to this by Jill Bowman, which was as well. And I just had my third baby at that time. He was 4 months old. And really, truly, the way we started was not the intention of what we have right now. Brad had just recently lost his job, which he was the directing manager for Drive Time for, 13 years?
Yeah, I worked at a Drive Time for 13 years. My background's more in the corporate arena. And so I've had careers at Motorola, and then a couple of more financial geared organizations. So over the 13 years I was at a company, Drive Time, which Brad and I go back to the days there at Drive Time together. But I'd been there 13 years. It was just one of those things where it reached the point for me where I was burnt out. and it was time for me to move on. The company wanted to move in a different direction. So, it was really time for me to just say, I need to do something different. And it just kind of aligned with Stephanie, where this opportunity was presented to us. And we said, let's take this more seriously. And how can she, grow her business with her experience and background in direct sales. And it's something where, I wanted out of the corporate world. And so, I've been fortunate to be, making a nice, healthy 6-figure income in what I do, but it's not what I want to do. And so it's one of those things where we look at this as an opportunity to provide a freedom for us and our family, an opportunity for, at some point, for me to leave that corporate world and come back and be more with the family and more a part of the business. As of today's statement, Stephanie obviously is the one that runs the business on the front side and the sales. But it is really something that we're more engaged with in partnership on than we ever have been before in any of her direct sales businesses. And so I'm definitely more on the back end of that as far as, finding where she needs opportunities to go somewhere or be at an event or be on the phone and talking to someone that I'm taking the kids or making dinner or, when it comes to the financial side of things, how the business from a bookkeeping standpoint or where we need to be financially and what incentives we potentially are looking at are things that I get involved with the business.
So Brad, this is Jessica. So are you still working corporate?
I am still working corporate. It's one of the things where, we probably could make the decision today for me to leave with the money Stephanie's earning. But for me to be comfortable, I'd like to see us be a little further ahead. Right. And so I'm not quite ready to give that up, but it's on our, I'd say 1 year plan for me is looking at, where we're at financially at that point. For me to be able to leave the corporate world. When I left Drive Time, I took a period of time where I did some consulting work, but then I did stop working for a period of time. And it was great because, we had our third son and afforded me the opportunity to spend time at home with him and with the family. And so for me, it's probably one of those things where now that I've experienced that, I want more of it, and looking forward to that opportunity in our future.
That's good. So a follow-up question to that. So you said that you do a lot of the back end work. So you're the one that kind of pays attention to the cycles and the CFO type of stuff where you're sitting there going, okay, you just need 2 more to do this, and then you hit this bonus, and
right,
holding the back office stuff really tight. Is that what you do?
Yeah, definitely involved on the back end of watching it. I'm the one that knows that every Monday when the money hits ISO wallet and pulling it into the bank account, watching throughout the day where the cycles are at, understanding how the executive pools work and where her benchmarks at and where opportunities are at to cycle. So definitely, involved on that back end aspect. And, again, my background's, I've got an accounting degree and my whole career has been in IT. So, more comfortable and familiar with the systems and understanding the back end. In fact, several of the guys that I know are writing the systems at Isogenics have done work for me in the past. So.
Okay.
Very good.
Jessica, to kind of follow up on that, he does a lot watching the team numbers, not necessarily as much as mine, but he knows the team as well. And so he follows that. And the future plans are for him to do all of the back as far as the back office, the recognition, but also the ads, any kind of pay-per-clicks and anything like that. And that's just a matter of timing, of finding the time for him to do that, as well as really truly making that decision for him to become that CEO position to do the marketing.
That's great.
That'll be him. So our goal and our plan is for myself to do the meetings, the phone calls, the events, love on people.
Right.
Where he will be the one doing pretty much everything else behind the computer.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Brent and Tracy, do you guys want to jump in and tell us sort of how you guys make it work and what your perspective is?
Oh,
You're muted.
I'm not muted.
No, Brent is.
Oh.
We don't read sign language,
That was me saying I'm fixing.
especially angry sign language.
Yelling at me. So our life, right? So I'm Brent Shaw, and this is my wife Tracy, and she actually has more than just a head. It's actually, she's got a neck there.
She has a very long, tall body.
Yeah, right. So our world is kind of a little bit reversed from a lot of what gets into network marketing, in the fact that I got started for the nutrition aspect because I was told to use it by Andy. So for those of you who know Andy Bowman, he told me to use it, so I did. I used it for 11 months, didn't share it with anybody, didn't tell anybody. Andy kept actually Jill kept saying, you need to share this. And I'm like, I don't do network marketing. I have no interest in it, no desire doing it. At the time I had retired from the Phoenix Police Department. I'd done 21 years there, and I was selling armored cars. So I was traveling to the Middle East and West Africa and doing that sort of thing. So I wasn't really interested in anything to do with network marketing. Tracy and I had a little bit of exposure to network marketing and some other crap things, like, there was a travel company that we saw and thought that was kind of fun. And so we kind of looked at that, but that was about the extent of our world with network marketing. Had the typical, it's possible, but not likely kind of mentality about network marketing. So time went by, about 11 months went by. Some of my team have heard this story before, but about 11 months went by. Our first paycheck was $242. That was February 2013. We made that for the month. Kind of went along at that $200 and something world for a couple months. Basically, I was paying for my product, and that's all I was really concerned about. Then fast forward a year, and so March of 2014, we made $8,242 that month. Fast forward another year, and we were over $30,000. So March of 2015, we did over $30,000, and we, just because of numbers' sake and because of network marketing, celebrate income. Our baseline goal this year is about 500,000. So actually, it's not about, it is. So what we have found and what my belief system is that our business really took off when Tracy got involved, because now you've got two people that are interested, right? And there's a difference, right? The cow that gives the milk is interested. The cow that is butchered, he's committed, right? So you've got to be committed.
An interesting analogy.
Right? It's the way it is, right? You're getting your shit cut up, right? You're committed, right? So Tracy's commitment level started because she saw we were kind of going along, and she said, hey, look, we're making some money here. And she got tired of me leaving. Actually, her favorite story is I left my malaria pills on the dryer when I went to someplace in Africa. And she wasn't impressed by that. So I decided that probably wasn't the job I should keep doing. But I started doing more of the business, and then I didn't believe in all of this other stuff about going to some rah-rah convention, which was Celebration. And then we decided, okay, we'll go ahead and go, because Tracy said we should go, and she wanted to see what it was about. So we went, and really Celebration 2014 was the first event we'd ever gone to. We'd never done anything else. And all along the way, I have fought all kinds of things, right? I'm not going to go to Celebration. I'm not going to go to NYKO. I'm not going to do a vision board. I'm not going to do goal setting. That's all crap. It doesn't make any difference. But every time I've done one of those, or we've done one of those, then good things have happened. And Tracy's initial interest was like what a lot of people the spouse is, and that is she was just kind of interested, right? I mean, it was like, okay, look, if somebody asks me what you're doing, I'll tell them, but I'm not going to post about it. I'm not going to talk about it. But if you want to make if you want to make them, our goal, right, is to make $1 million in a year. And I think we'll hit that. And that's, and I know we'll hit that. But the realities of making $1 million in a year, they require commitment, right? You can't just give the milk, right? So you got to get invested. And if spouses, Lauren made the comment on their thing, say, hey, I want the no bullshit, kind of version of this. And I'll tell you, you know what? We've spent every day the last 2 weeks together going to different, because we're now tied in with a school system here in the East Valley. And so we're running a Biggest Loser contest for over 200 people, right? You can't do that with one person on board, right? It's got to be both of you. And when the men see the guy involved or the women see the girl involved or vice versa, there's a different connectivity. We've talked to, who's the couple that just made $1 million? Kirkpatrick. Tanya and Jeremy Kirkpatrick, right? So they just did really well. And their whole thing is look, when Jeremy got really involved, because it changes, right? When you start both of you working your networks with the intent of growing your business is different than exposing your network to what you're doing versus intentionally planning that, hey, look, we're going to enroll people from our networks is different than saying, hey, look, I'm interested in, I'll let them know if they ask. So anyway, that's it, right? I mean, I don't have any secret. There's no secret sauce to it. It's just, it's very intentional, and it's not 5 or 10 hours in your pockets of your life for people that want to make real money. You can't, I don't believe that you can earn $1 million in a year in the pockets of your life, right? That's not real, right? If you want to make $1 million in a year, your ass is going to be working and you're going to make things happen. And that's where we're at. So, yeah.
So Brent, the difference here, if I can just sort of interject here, is that you are presenting product. At the end of the day, people sign up with Isogenics because they want the product. How do you transition that how do you actually transition that, into a serious business conversation? How have you developed, some of your most serious builders? Because that's one of the things that us newer people struggle with is how do you identify, and then, what is it that ultimately sort of makes that shift?
Well, here's an example. My most serious builders are here on this page.
Yep.
Right? I put it out that, hey, we're going to have a conversation, and my most serious builders are here. I didn't tell them to be here. I didn't send Dan a message. I didn't send Andrea a message. I didn't send April, Jillian, Angela, Michael. I didn't send them a message and say, hey, get on this call. I put a message on our team messenger group, and I said, hey, we've been asked to be involved in this Zoom call. Get on if you can. So your serious builders are going to show up, right? You could not have told me in the first 11 months that I was doing this business, you could not have come to me and said, hey, Brent, you need to start sharing nutrition, right? You weren't going to, it wasn't going to happen, right? You weren't going to convince me to do network marketing, right? That didn't happen. Andy kept saying, Brent, you need to talk to Jill. And I kept saying, no, I'm not talking to her. And finally, one day he says, will you please talk to her just so she'll quit asking me to tell you to talk to her? And I said, okay, fine, I'll talk to her. So she said, will you share it? I'm like, sure. I'll enroll my wife and my sister, right? That was a tough one, right? So I enrolled my wife and my sister, and April is, of the people that are on the call, I believe, she's in the top earners of the people that are on this call. I mean, April, what did you make last year? She's muted.
About $199.
Okay, so $199,000 last year, right? And 3 years, April, 2 years, two years.
3 years, today.
3 years.
Yay.
So, and it's growing, right? I mean, it's a growing concern, and it's become growing because Garrett and April can share. I mean, if you want to take a second, April can tell you that when Garrett got engaged, and I would say Garrett's become engaged in the last 6 months?
Yeah, probably, honestly, in the last 9 months, really.
Yeah.
In San Diego, what was that, last February? No.
Yeah, University in Action.
Yeah, and April had him in a headlock, I think, giving him royal flush in and out of the toilet saying, you're going to do this. And he's like, okay, stop.
So kind of a common theme too, I want to point out for you and Tracy Brent, it was actually going to an event for April and Garrett, an event. It took Brad top achievers.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Garrett really, turned on too. He went to UIA, so he started to understand, and he saw some other guys up on stage, so that was helpful. And then the top achievers was like, wow, we're doing really great.
Well, if you've ever heard Jeremy Kirkpatrick, he does a really great job of talking about the fact that he thought it was all bullshit too, right? Network marketing, that can't work, can't sustain, it's going to fall, it's going to fail, nothing's going to work. And his whole thing was when he figured out that, Jim Coover, right? This is his second $1 billion company, right? The guy that has Virgin Airways, Richard Branson, he's got 4. Right. So the guy that runs Isagenix has $2 billion companies. The guy that everybody sees on the news media all the time has 4. Right. There's just not a lot of those kind of guys out there. And when Jeremy's statement is when he realized that they had actually gone through and had all this stuff done by the what are they called? Actuaries in the insurance industry to say, look, this business will continue. This business model will continue because of the financial health based off of the actuarial results of these studies and of this presentation, so that it doesn't fall. It really is possible. And you've all heard it. I know I've heard Stephanie say it too. And that is, anybody can do this business, but most people won't, right? Anybody can do it. It's just that most people won't, right? Because somebody tells you that it's stupid, you can't make the money at it. Now somebody says, hey, network marketing doesn't work. I go, really? I'll compare my check with yours and we'll talk about it, right? So, but that's my red in your face kind of thing. So
I like your red. It's my So the only other thing I'd love to throw out there and just get your take on and Stephanie's take on, and then maybe if anyone has questions, it's just one of the things that I'm really starting to learn and really starting to try and teach my team is that this business doesn't make you $1 million by just continuing to enroll people. You make money by developing the people below you and helping them get paid. You can only get paid in advance in this company if you help other people do the same. So do you guys have any thoughts or, anything to add on to that?
Yeah, there's actually a great book on that. Greta, you're with me on that. You've read that, with the golden ships. I can't think of the name right now, but I'll grab it. And it really talks about that. And talks about the salesman mentality. You can go out there and you can enroll 100 people, but if you don't teach them how to do that, and that's, of course, going along with Jim Rohn talks about it, and John C. Maxwell, you've got to teach other people. Whereas if we left our business today, would the business still run by itself? That's what you want. And that's how you know that you've made it. Can businesses run without a CEO and vice president? Maybe, maybe not. You never know. But are many people in those businesses making a lot of money? Or is it a tiered effect like a pyramid? So I'll get that book in just a second, but it's a really good book where it shows the difference of salesmen versus people that develop leaders. And without a doubt, you have to develop your leaders.
Yeah, and the tough part is, and what we've found, and it is to develop depth, right? Because I can teach somebody that I enrolled something, but that doesn't mean that they're going to teach the person that they enroll something, right? 85%, you got to, and when what your question was, Lauren, about how to develop or how to pick, 85, you got to remember the numbers. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse to not know your numbers if you're going to make the money in this business. 85% of the people that you enroll or that become part of your business, become part of your network, are going to be product users. That's what they're going to do. They're going to use product. They're going to be here for 3 to 6 months, and then they're going to leave, right? That's 85%, 3 to 6 months, and they're out, right? Who's the guy that does he's the guy that's always talking about, Dave, he's on the radio all the time. Dave Ramsey talks about network marketing. He says it's basically a very high turnover sales position. It's managing high turnover sales reps, right? So these people come on and they're your high turnover sales reps. You got to manage that, right? And you got to recognize the fact that 85% of them are going to show up and then they're going to leave in a short period of time, generally less than a year. 10% of your people will do something. They will enroll a couple of people. They'll enroll mom, dad, sister, aunt, uncle, maybe make it to, in our world, they might make it the manager. And that's about all they're going to ever do, right? So that, because they're going to flounder. They may even stay around for a while, but they're just not going to go further. And it's because of a variety of reasons, but they're just not. So that's 10%. 3% of your people are going to be the people that take the time to get on this call, right? Dan Ferguson, who's on the call, was enrolled by he's my 4-level PET, okay? Dan enrolled Jillian, and Jillian, did you enroll Angela? I'm not sure who enrolled. Dan did. Dan enrolled Steve maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is that's the depth that you have to get to where you've got significant depth going on in your business, right? I enrolled April. April's got, I don't know, she's got more, I think she has more people under her that are executive than we have under us that are executive. But actually, I know she does. But that's the type of the type of commitment that you have to make that happen. And those people, you can't make them show up. You just can't.
Right.
Yeah. So a good book to actually help explain that and help you pick out the people that are going to be those ones that are going to be a part of the 3% is the 45-second presentation by Don Falia. I highly recommend it. You can listen to it, I think, on audio as well as read it. But it walks you through just exactly what Brent's talking about with the numbers and also how to pick them out and figure out who they are. And just because we want something for someone doesn't mean they're going to be part of that 3%. They have to show you they're going to be a part of that.
Yeah, you can't convince somebody to do this business.
Mm-hmm. And it's all numbers.
Yeah.
I know also, if you don't mind if I interject, I know one of the concerns of one reason why we're talking tonight is fitting everything in and fitting this life in with children. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just so you know, Brent and Tracy have a child. April and Garrett have 2. We have 3. And I'm so sorry. I don't know the rest of your team's family life, Brent, but doing this with children is definitely doable. You have to figure it out. In our case, Brad's not on 100% yet, but he's on 100% with making the family work. Whatever we need, whenever I need to work or do something, he's there and takes care of it. We don't argue about it. We're past that point. We may have in the beginning, but we're past that now. And he just does because he knows that that's what we have to do. I do have help from my mother-in-law, so I will definitely put that out there. She's a big portion of how we are able to do a lot. But you fit it in. You find your times, whether you sit in the car longer before you go into the house, or you pull off the side of the street before you even hit the driveway so they don't know you're home yet, or you get to work early, but you don't go into work and you make phone calls. I mean, there's different tricks that you can do, and we can certainly talk about them in detail. But if your children don't see you, they don't know that you're not home. So I do a lot of my work then. If they know that I'm home and I'm not with them, they get a little upset at times. So I do a bunch of stuff in the driveway or on the side of the street. I do lock myself in the office, and they know that. I do a lot while they're at school. I started my direct sales business when I was working full-time, and I did fit it into the pockets of my time at that point. I fit it in during lunch hour. I fit it in before work. I fit it in after work. I did work hard on weekends, worked really hard on weekends. It was a drive, and I was motivated to succeed, which I did, but I had to fit it in. And so whether you're cooking dinner and you're on your headset, we don't watch TV. I mean, we have like maybe 1 or 2 shows that we'll watch, but we record them and we watch them when we can. Otherwise, we don't watch TV.
But yeah, it's at the same time it affords opportunities to spend the quality time with your kids.
Yeah.
And so where, I, again, in the corporate world, and I'm gone from, 7 o'clock in the morning until, 5 or 6 o'clock at night, he's volunteering at the kids' school. She's committed every week to do reading group with one child. She's doing lunch break with another one of the kids every week, and so there's a lot of flexibility, and so you're your own boss. You're independent. You're your own boss. You're making your own schedule, and so it's that balance, right? So what is right for us maybe not be right for you, but everyone's got the right balance to make this business work. And like Brent said, it's a commitment. So no one gets into this thinking they're going to be making $1 million and working 20 hours a week. And so if you want to be successful at this, it takes a commitment to make it happen. But there's different ways to be successful in that.
I remember a comment that one of my leaders made when I was at Party Light, and her children were young when she was doing it. And again, she was making $100,000 a year, but in that business, that was very high. So kind of keep that. When we say $1 million, that 100,000 is very similar. But she said that business afforded her husband an opportunity to bond with her children. So while she was out, he had to take care of the children. They got time together that they never would have because the kids would have gone to mom versus going to him. And I feel that we're doing that right now as well. I work a lot in the evenings. So when I work, he's with the children. They don't come to me. They go to dad. It's really helped to balance our family relationships.
The guy from Shark Tank, we were listening to him, like Robert Herjavec, and he made a comment, and I'm a firm believer in it, and that is, if you really want to make real money and you want to run a real business, don't expect balance. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality, right? I mean,
right.
Again, we can sit here and say, oh yeah, you can do this and you can do that, you can juggle this, you can juggle that. It's bullshit, right? You can't have balance, right? My son's sitting in there and he's playing a video game because there's no balance, because we've got an intention on doing something. Now, when we go on vacation and we take him on places, and we can take him places that we would have didn't even know were on the map, that's a different world, right? So balance doesn't exist. Jillian's got, I don't think she's only got one kid, Jillian? Six. You got six, right? So there ain't no balance, right? And Jillian will tell you there's no balance because she's on a roll and she's rocking and she's going to make things happen.
Well, and there's really no balance in any type of lifestyle. Whether you're working at a corporate job, you're at that corporate job all day and you get to see your kid for, maybe an hour or two before they go to bed. You're a stay-at-home mom. Usually stay-at-home moms really, truly don't give their children all of that time. There's so many other things that happen that whether they want to be with their children or not, they don't give their children that time. So truly there is no balance. I agree with you on Brent. I can't say we have a balance either, but it works for us, right? And everybody's content.
The other thing you have to get into is everybody has different strengths. So there's certain things that he obviously is better at because they're things he enjoys versus things that I'm better at. But then there's also those time periods where it is stressful because, maybe you want to be the one to go, out of the house for a while, but you're the one that has to run the shuttle, or it is difficult. You do go back and forth. There's the times where you think you're doing okay and your kid's doing good in school and whatever, but you feel guilty because you're not there. So you just have to really find that balance and learn to work together. And then there's a struggle sometimes, especially if you're business owners or you work by yourself or you've had your own, career or whatever, because then, well, who's going to take that and who's going to do that? Well, so once in a while you'll fall into that. You just have to figure out how best to work together, Yeah,
because for those of you who don't know, I mean, Tracy has owned and operated her own real estate company for 15 years about, where she's been the owner operator of it. But because of where we're at with Isogenics, she has been able to literally let some of her agents go, and she's down to two, right? Two?
Three. Yeah, that three. But I mean, they pretty much run it. They pretty much run everything, so I very rarely go in. But, just finding that balance that works for you is, and every couple is different, on how you work together. We know that if it comes to scheduling,
I ain't doing it.
He can't do it. So there's different things, and
I figure when I get older and I have Alzheimer's, it won't change for her. Nothing will change. I'll just, nothing changes. I don't remember shit anyway. So it's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Today? Wow. Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. Right? It's just, it works for her at all.
Tracy, you brought up a good point I'd like to comment on, regarding, strengths. And again, April's been doing this 3 years. I've been in it for about 9 months. And again, she had to drag me to that one event to see. But for any of the spouses on this call that the other half, is kind of skeptical, get them to an event. Do what you can to get them there. And again, it'll change things. But what I'm getting at is strengths. On our last event, we came back on the plane and we decided to give each other a list and had each other write down things we thought the other person was good at. So we wrote down 10 things for each person. Then we exchanged paperwork, and then we circled the things that we agreed with that we liked doing. So if you take things that you are good at and like doing, and you combine that, into your daily operation, it just helps things, smoothly and go better. Versus a corporate world where somehow you ended up into this job you're at today in corporate America, and you may have not liked it. You don't like doing it. But it's your job. This, you can actually have something you love doing, you like doing, and you're doing it together. So, I just try to get a list like that together and just go through it to see what you like doing and you're good at.
That's great advice. And it's a really valid point. Jessica and I are both recruiters. Mm-hmm. So we find people jobs all day long, and usually they're jobs they don't like and don't want, but don't have a choice. And I think, doing what we do, we see what working does, what it can do to, it's required, but that's, most people aren't doing something that they really love. And I think that's what the best part about this opportunity is that it doesn't matter what, we all have different interests and we all have different backgrounds, but we're all passionate about finding a different way to provide an income that meets our expectations in life, but will take you there in an entirely different way, which is awesome.
And that can pull the couples together and not apart like a lot of other jobs and interests do.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll touch on that real quick, right? So I've told this story gently a couple times, but I'll tell you that, when I retired from the police department, I was headed for a different direction, and that direction wasn't being together, right? So Tracy and I went through a pretty rough time during those first several months, about a first year of being done with that job, right? So what happens in any relationship is you either grow together or you grow apart. And I believe that the business side of this has drawn us together far more than, if there's one benefit that we receive from this that's just dramatic, and that is the fact that we have drawn together because now we have a common interest with a common goal that we actually have to talk about, right? Other than our kid, right? Yeah, we want him to go to school today. Yeah, we want him to go to school today. We could get together on that. Outside of that, there wasn't a lot we got together on, right? So, hey, I'm going to the gym. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm out, right? So that was kind of me. And so now we actually have to talk about the business side of it. And I'll tell you, as leaders on this page and people that are wanting to head there, when you think that your spouse is in, let them start operating their own center and then see how in they are, right? Because when you let them start operating their own center, then you find out their level of commitment. Because when they start doing their own enrollments down on their own downline and they start seeing that growth and they start committing themselves to that, that's a whole nother level of commitment, right? So now Tracy, and I know Garrett's doing the same thing, are building their own centers, and those centers, we call them ours, but it does, she knows it, right? She tracks it on Isopulse. She tracks her own back office. She does all those things that I do with the primary facility. And but both of them are our money. You know, we named one of them, and I'll tell you this right now, you want to change things, make sure that your primary business center has both of your names on it. And then your secondary business center, flip the names around. One of them is Brent and Tracy, and the other one's Tracy and Brent, right? Tracy and Brent just made Crystal Executive, right? Brent and Tracy have, we've got all kinds of other great things going on. But our second business center, because of her running it, has made that advancement. And that is how, again, you start finding, you get that, all right? It's the commitment side, right? So I don't know. It does take both of you, and there's just things that I could never have done. We wouldn't be where we're at had it not been for both of us being not interested but being committed.
Well, that's a great way to sort of wrap things up. I know we've been on here about 45 minutes, and I really appreciate everyone's perspective. And thanks, April and Garrett, for jumping on. Does anyone, Justin, Jim, do you guys have any questions?
Well, I guess just, one question is, from a marketing standpoint, what makes you so successful? I mean, what are you guys doing other than just, talking to your neighbors and people like that?
You want that, Stephanie, or?
Facebook.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick. I mean, April, she's on Facebook. Later on, I thought, she's just spending all her time there. But let's just face it. Women are better at network marketing than men are, in my opinion. So let them run with it. Let them go on Facebook. And I'm the guy that gets on the airplane and talks face to face and, gets the conversation going. She is always on Facebook, telling how great it is, telling her personal life, doing the 10-4-1. Actually 28-2. That's what she does.
But Garrett, you're taking a little bit of your fire out, and that's not necessarily true because, again, recently, you're in the last 9 months, like you said, if Garrett is out and about when we're all together, Garrett will be the first one to initiate that conversation at the table with the waiter, with the waitress, with the cab driver, with anybody out there. That's what Garrett does. He does it to the point that I'm like, damn, you went faster than anybody at the table at that one, right? But all of that is fun and practice, right? I mean, I swear, it just becomes like stupid fun between the two of us. We come back from California and it's like, okay, we're gonna, can you go into the gas station this time and talk to the attendant? We won't pay with our credit card. We'll go inside and pay. And it's stupid stuff like that, right? But it's real because all of that is practice. But when you really want to talk about the business building side of it, you realize that the people that you have, I would venture to say that if all of us took an honest look at our email lists from the business side, and you look at the true people that you have contacts with in business, are you willing to solicit those people in an honest manner when the opportunity arises? And that's why Facebook is so good, because you friend them, they get to see what you're doing, and then when they ask, which they will eventually, then you engage them in an honest conversation. I don't go out and try to get somebody. I just wait until they ask, and then we go, yeah, this is what we do. And, and literally I'll take it away from them, right? I'm just like, that's what I do. I don't know. Made a little bit of money at it. It's a bit okay, right? And then you just wait, right? Because it comes back. So it's not just your neighbors. Your neighbors suck.
And your family, a lot of times.
Neighbors, family, right? They're the last to believe that anything's going to happen. And then when it does happen for you, then they're like, oh, well, you got in at a good time.
Right.
No, I got in, right?
Yeah. The couple asking about the marketing piece, our goal is, my strength is long-range planning, getting our week together on what needs to happen for April. So, 60% of our time at least is, doing the Facebook post, following up with people, making those relationships. At the end of the week, we have a short list. That short list better have at least 8 to 12 names on it. By Sunday night before 9, we want to get our double PIB. So we always try to get, 8 to 10 people on that list, so we have enrollments every week. So, it's just an ongoing process. If Sunday rolls around, we don't have at least 8 on there, something's wrong. And it's not like selling it. some of these people are over time. It could be 2 or 3 years. But again, we just keep following up. It's not their time yet, but all of a sudden it is their time. And April has several stories like that. Just keep in the relationship, keep in touch.
And if you think about it on a 5-year basis, right? A 5-year mentality. Think about 5 years, right? If you could commit to this level of activity for 5 years. So basically, and seriously, I mean, 30, realistically it's 30 hours, 30, 40 hours a week, whatever. So you're 30, 40 hours a week at 5 years. You could, at the time, I mean, I don't remember who it was, Lauren, you said is already in the business where they've got some residual income from their existing business. But
Jessica.
Okay, Jessica. So it becomes residual, right? I mean, it does become residual. I know that Dan Ferguson's team that they've got, and there's several of them on this call, I know that they're going to continue to create volume, whether I get hit in a car crash, I get taken out by a truck tomorrow, or not, right? They're going to continue to do their thing. So it's not like a never ending thing. It's just something that you've got to be willing to dedicate, I believe, 5 solid years to. And at the end of that 5 years, you see those people walking across the stage, I call them the genie couple, right? They're the older couple and they wear like the genie outfit, right? And you see them walking across the stage. They're not picking up checks for 4 PET. They're not doing that. But guess what they're doing? They're walking across the stage when it comes time for 7-figure income earner this year, right? So they're making $1 million a year dressing fashionably.
Residual.
I hate to run. I'm going to leave Jim here. I've got to take my daughter to a cheerleading practice.
All right, so, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Follow your money.
I know.
Practice people.
I'm going to go network.
All cheerleaders need better flexibility and better nutrition.
That's right.
She's 6.
That's all right. They got parents.
That's right.
I just want to thank you guys so much for spending time with us today. And, obviously Jim's interest is my interest, and just really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Bye, Jess. Have fun.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you.
Right, bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
You guys
Look,
are
we're together.
Woo! Finally.
How we teleported.